Let us talk about interpersonal relations and conflict resolution. This is a very important topic in civic education. It appears in your exams every year. By the end of this lesson, you will understand what interpersonal relations means, the types of interpersonal relationships, skills for building good relationships, what conflict means, causes of conflict, methods of conflict resolution, and how to answer exam questions. Pay attention, take notes, let us go. First, what is interpersonal relations? Interpersonal relations are the connections and interactions between people. It is how people relate to each other. This includes family relationships, friendships, romantic relationships, work relationships, and relationships with classmates and neighbors. Good interpersonal relations are based on respect, trust, honesty, and communication. When people have good relationships, they are happier, they work better together, they support each other in difficult times. Now let me explain the types of interpersonal relationships. The first type is family relationships. This is the relationship between parents and children, between siblings, and between extended family members. Family relationships are the first relationships we have. They shape who we are. Good family relationships provide love, support, and security. The second type is friendships. Friends are people we choose to spend time with. Good friends are loyal, honest, and supportive. They celebrate our successes and comfort us in our failures. The third type is romantic relationships. These are relationships between boyfriends, girlfriends, husbands, and wives. They involve deeper emotional connection and often physical intimacy. Healthy romantic relationships are built on mutual respect, trust, and communication. The fourth type is professional relationships. These are relationships with co-workers, bosses, employees, and business partners. Professional relationships are based on competence, reliability, and respect for boundaries. The fifth type is community relationships. These are relationships with neighbors, religious congregation members, and fellow citizens. They are based on shared interests, shared values, or simply living in the same place. Now let me explain the skills for building good interpersonal relationships. These are skills you can learn and practice. The first skill is effective communication. This means speaking clearly and listening carefully. It means expressing your thoughts and feelings honestly but respectfully. It means asking questions to understand the other person. The second skill is empathy. Empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another person. It is putting yourself in someone else's shoes. When you show empathy, the other person feels heard and valued. The third skill is respect. Respect means treating others as you want to be treated. It means accepting that other people have different opinions, beliefs, and ways of doing things. It means not insulting, bullying, or looking down on others. The fourth skill is trustworthiness. Trust is the foundation of any good relationship. To be trustworthy, you must keep your promises. You must be honest. You must not share secrets that were told to you in confidence. The fifth skill is conflict resolution. Even in the best relationships, conflicts happen. The skill is handling them in a way that strengthens the relationship rather than destroying it. We will talk more about this soon. The sixth skill is cooperation. Cooperation means working together toward a common goal. It means being willing to compromise. It means helping others even when you do not get an immediate benefit. The seventh skill is emotional regulation. This means managing your own emotions. Do not explode in anger. Do not sulk. Do not withdraw. Learn to calm yourself down. Learn to express your feelings in constructive ways. Now let us move to conflict. What is conflict? Conflict is a disagreement or struggle between two or more people who have different needs, goals, or values. Conflict is normal. It happens in every relationship. The problem is not conflict itself. The problem is how conflict is handled. When handled poorly, conflict destroys relationships. When handled well, conflict can lead to growth, understanding, and stronger relationships. Now, let me explain the causes of conflict. There are many causes. The first cause is competition over scarce resources. When there is not enough money, food, land, or other resources, people fight over them. In families, conflict can arise over inheritance or how money is spent. In communities, conflict can arise over water, grazing land, or housing. The second cause is differences in values or beliefs. People may have different religious beliefs, political views, or ideas about right and wrong. These differences can lead to conflict, especially when each side thinks they are right and the other is wrong. The third cause is poor communication. When people do not listen to each other, when they make assumptions, when they use insulting language, conflict escalates. Many conflicts could be avoided with better communication. The fourth cause is unmet expectations. When one person expects something from another and that expectation is not met, conflict can arise. For example, if you expect your friend to call you and they do not, you may feel hurt and angry. The fifth cause is personality clashes. Some people simply do not get along. Their personalities rub each other the wrong way. One person may be very talkative, the other very quiet. One may be very organized, the other very messy. The sixth cause is power struggles. People may fight over who is in charge. This happens in families, at work, and in communities. The seventh cause is jealousy and envy. When one person has something that another person wants, conflict can arise. This could be money, a job, a romantic partner, or even attention from parents. The eighth cause is past hurts. When someone has been hurt in the past, they may be quick to feel threatened or attacked. They may react strongly to small slights. Old wounds make new conflicts worse. Now let me explain the methods of conflict resolution. These are ways to resolve disagreements peacefully. The first method is negotiation. Negotiation is when the people in conflict talk directly to each other to find a solution. They discuss the problem. They listen to each other's perspective. They propose solutions. They make compromises. The goal is to find an agreement that both sides can accept. The second method is mediation. Mediation is when a neutral third person helps the parties resolve their conflict. The mediator does not take sides. The mediator does not impose a solution. The mediator helps the parties communicate and find their own solution. Mediation is often used in family disputes, workplace conflicts, and community disagreements. The third method is arbitration. Arbitration is when a neutral third person listens to both sides and then makes a binding decision. The parties agree in advance to accept the arbitrator's decision. Arbitration is faster and cheaper than going to court. It is often used in labor disputes and business contracts. The fourth method is adjudication. This is when a judge in a court of law resolves the conflict. The judge hears evidence from both sides and applies the law to make a decision. Adjudication is used for serious disputes, especially those involving crimes or large amounts of money. It is the most formal and expensive method of conflict resolution. The fifth method is conciliation. Conciliation is similar to mediation, but the conciliator takes a more active role. The conciliator may suggest solutions. The conciliator may meet with each party separately to understand their positions. The goal is to bring the parties together. The sixth method is avoidance. Sometimes the best way to handle a conflict is to avoid it. If the issue is trivial, it may not be worth fighting over. But avoidance is not a good strategy for important conflicts. Unresolved conflicts tend to get worse over time. Now let me explain the steps in conflict resolution. Whether you are negotiating, mediating, or using another method, there are common steps. The first step is to identify the problem. What is the conflict really about? Sometimes people fight about surface issues, while the real problem is something deeper. Take time to understand the root cause. The second step is to listen to each other. Each party should have a chance to explain their perspective without interruption. Listen to understand, not to argue. The third step is to identify interests, not just positions. A position is what someone says they want. An interest is why they want it. For example, two children want the last orange. Their positions are both wanting the orange. Their interests might be that one wants to eat it and the other wants the peel to bake a cake. If you understand interests, you can find solutions that meet both needs. The fourth step is to brainstorm options. Think of as many possible solutions as you can. Do not judge them yet. Just generate ideas. The fifth step is to evaluate options and choose the best one. Which solution best meets the interests of both parties? Is it fair? Is it practical? The sixth step is to implement the solution. Put the agreement into action. Who will do what? By when? The seventh step is to follow up. Check in after some time to make sure the solution is working. If not, go back to the problem-solving steps. Now, let me explain the importance of conflict resolution. Why is it important to resolve conflicts peacefully? First, it preserves relationships. When conflicts are handled poorly, relationships are damaged or destroyed. When they are handled well, relationships can become stronger. Second, it prevents violence. Unresolved conflicts can escalate into fights, riots, and even war. Peaceful conflict resolution saves lives. Third, it saves time and money. Going to court is expensive and time-consuming. Mediation and negotiation are faster and cheaper. Fourth, it builds trust. When people see that conflicts can be resolved fairly, they trust the system. They trust each other. Fifth, it creates solutions that work. When the parties are involved in finding the solution, they are more likely to follow it. Solutions imposed by a judge are often ignored. A common exam question asks you to define interpersonal relations and list the skills for building good relationships. Here is a sample answer. Interpersonal relations are the connections and interactions between people. The skills for building good relationships include effective communication, empathy, respect, trustworthiness, conflict resolution, cooperation, and emotional regulation. These skills help people connect, work together, and resolve disagreements peacefully. Another exam question asks you to explain the causes of conflict. Here is your answer. The causes of conflict include competition over scarce resources, like money and land, differences in values or beliefs, poor communication, unmet expectations, personality clashes, power struggles, jealousy and envy, and past hurts. Each of these can create tension between individuals, families, or communities. Understanding the cause is the first step to resolving the conflict. Another exam question asks you to describe the methods of conflict resolution. Here is your answer. The methods of conflict resolution include negotiation, where the parties talk directly to each other; mediation, where a neutral third person helps the parties find a solution; arbitration, where a neutral third person makes a binding decision; adjudication, where a judge resolves the conflict in court; conciliation, where a conciliator actively helps the parties reach agreement; and avoidance, which is appropriate only for trivial issues. Another exam question asks you to explain the steps in conflict resolution. Here is your answer. The steps are: identify the problem, listen to each other, identify interests behind positions, brainstorm options, evaluate and choose the best option, implement the solution, and follow up to ensure it is working. These steps can be used in negotiation, mediation, or any other conflict resolution process. Let us quickly go over what we have learned. Interpersonal relations are the connections between people. Types include family, friendships, romantic, professional, and community relationships. Skills for good relationships include communication, empathy, respect, trustworthiness, conflict resolution, cooperation, and emotional regulation. Conflict is a disagreement caused by scarce resources, different values, poor communication, unmet expectations, personality clashes, power struggles, jealousy, or past hurts. Methods of resolution include negotiation, mediation, arbitration, adjudication, conciliation, and avoidance. The steps are identify, listen, find interests, brainstorm, evaluate, implement, and follow up. Peaceful conflict resolution preserves relationships, prevents violence, saves time and money, builds trust, and creates lasting solutions. That is what you need for your exam. Practice these points until you can say them without looking at your notes. When you are ready, move to topic 10.